Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before the break, Ambassador Negm, we were talking about the scale of a mutual or bilateral investment when it comes to agricultural, for example. Now, I wanted to ask you about the smaller scale of business that is regarding the handcrafts and handmade products, especially that this type of industry is usually made by women, and this is a very good chance for women in Egypt and in Rwanda to exchange, do business together, and at the same time know about each country's culture. Don't you think?
I'm happy you asked that because I have to tell you one thing. Rwanda is very advanced when it comes to women's rights. 64% of the parliamentarians in Rwanda are women.
I wanted to ask about that as well, but I want to 64%. Yes,
it's a high number in the world.
I knew that because I'm doing a program about women, and yes, I was informed that when it comes to women's rights and how their societies respect women and make them assume decision-making posts, especially when it comes to political decision-making posts, that's very important. I will ask you about this later. Now, what about the simple women, the very ordinary women in Egypt and Rwanda, who both live in an environment that is very rich in colors and in materials, and they perhaps most of them wouldn't be educated, but they know how to produce beautiful handmade products, and they can exchange cultures and products and make money at the same time. How would you help them in this regard?
Actually, we have started a discussion between the two institutions for women when Dr. Maya Morsi was in Rwanda in last July. She was attending meetings on the margins of the summit of the African Union. And since then we have been discussing how to have first an agreement between the two institutions to foster cooperation between women and societies and their societies. That's on one side. When it comes to the trade of those, we need the associations that represent.
Exactly, because the woman in Siwa wouldn't
reach us.
She wouldn't know how to reach exactly women.
Exactly. So we need their associations to approach us, and then we start to link them with their counterparts in Rwanda, because they have associations in Rwanda to represent this kind of production through women, and also for the refugees, because they have very big number of refugees in camps, and they produce the same. Because like refugees from Burundi or from Congo, they come from the same culture like Rwanda.
Of course.
So they produce the similar type of art crafts that we can put nicely in our homes in a simple way. So we can link them together in order to foster the...
They produce accessories as well and home products, as you mentioned, especially wooden ones, because they have a very rich environment. So do we. So I believe that creating an institution or an organization or a body that would help both people in both countries communicate, that would be a very great opportunity.
Definitely.
Thank you. Ambassador Negm, can we talk about as Hala was mentioning, the handcrafts in Africa? Can we start to have an exchange of import and export regarding these issues from Egypt and from Rwanda as well? Because we do have our crafts here in Egypt, not only from women, but handcrafts, the work of Khanir Khalili and these things that we are really famous with. And of course the Africans do have the same. They do have very beautiful wooden work, accessories and home accessories and more. And of course some as well. So how can we work on that?
What about exhibitions?
Actually we do have.
Bazaars.
We have one expo. It's called Egypt and Middle East Expo. That comes. It's run by a private company, an Egyptian private company. They come every 6 months to Rwanda. Now they have been doing that study for 3 years, and their products sell so quickly in the Rwandan market. And also, it's very useful for us because everybody knows Egypt because of the products they use at their home. We have very small shop for Khan Khalili products in Rwanda, an Egyptian who resided in Rwanda and opened it. So people are a bit familiar with that. We can increase it not only through the expos or these things, but also for the Egyptians to go there, explore what they can sell and what the Rwandans can afford. That's on one side.
Yeah.
Rwanda has less production than the neighboring countries when it comes to the wooden art crafts, but they still have like their own cultural objects, like what we call the agasiki. That is their no, it's just like a vase, but made of straw.
Straw.
Yes. And it looks like from inside they have several ones, different sizes, like the matrushka. And this can be put, they use it in their homes for storage, but also for decoration. So this thing is very famous in Rwanda. They still, of course, do some masks and some wooden art crafts, but they're not as advanced as the neighboring countries like Tanzania or Kenya. But still, if someone is interested in this, they can work with the Rwandan community itself to advance the production and market it. So they will be able to work because they know the basics of doing the wooden art craft itself. Okay. So they can develop it into an industry. So that can be one thing that can be very good field for cooperation as well.
Okay. Earlier we talked about the status of women in Africa, how advanced it is, how many women assume not only decision-making posts but also became presidents, like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the president of Liberia, and so many other women who became in ministers, for example, and in decision-making posts. The status of women in Africa is very important because now Egypt, again, under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and opening new chapters, starting giving importance and highlighting the role of women.
We have seen Hala the first time, the first governor.
Yes.
The first governor now, and we regard this as an achievement. We have three female ministers in the cabinet, but still, we as women, we don't think this is enough because we are aspiring for more. We think that the Egyptian women can actually do more, and they have a lot to give. How can we learn from the experience of African women, and what is the status of women in Rwanda?
The status of women in Rwanda when it comes to the political field, for example, first, women do not feel intimidated or scared to get into the political field. And I think because of the war itself, it gave them a lot of strength. So there are so many cabinet ministers who are women in Rwanda. And as I mentioned, 64% of the parliament are women. And they are advancing in every field. Like now, the Rwanda Development Board, as I mentioned, is a very, very important institution for the Rwandans because that's where the investors go. And the chairperson just has been changed, and a woman has been appointed as the head of the development board. So the mayor of Kigali is a woman. So they are very advanced in this. They still have problems on the grassroots level with the violence against women and so on, but they are working on it. So their institutions, when it comes to women, it's pretty advanced. They are trying to foster the empowerment of women in order to give them...
We are trying to do the same.
Exactly.
Yes. How can we benefit from
We are trying, as I mentioned, we're trying on the official level first to have the agreement to put together the institutions working on women issues. They will have then lessons learned, exchanged, and different programs that we can work on together in order to have more of women working in the public domain.
Yes. You have kindly mentioned, Ambassador Namira, that about 64% of the parliament are women. they are elected, so the people are aware of the importance of women. They are choosing women to be the representatives by themselves. How can we reach this level? Because we still do not have this percentage of women in parliament, and many women in parliament were appointed, were not elected. So how do you see the difference here on the cultural and social level?
As you mentioned, it's a cultural thing, and I think it's one of the things that we need to, I wouldn't say raise the awareness in Egypt, but just to make people understand that men and women are equal. They are, it's when it comes to work, when it comes to so many things.
Do they have this ideology in Rwanda?
Yes, and they don't look at women as an inferior human being in any way, whether the way she thinks or whatever. They have they have women in all the fields. They have women in the military, in the police, they have women in the judiciary. They have women in everywhere. The ombudsman, for like the head of the institution for countering corruption, is a woman. So they do not have this kind of problem of gender when it comes to the positions. And as you mentioned, when it comes to the elections, people look at the merits of the person, not the gender of the person. This is what we need to work on, that people should not look at our faces and gender, but they should look at what we are going to bring to the table.
What can we offer?
Yes.
Now, don't you think that when it comes to Egyptian African women, how can they come together through the organizations and the NGO and the civil society and exchange this type of expertise or experience in order to achieve empowerment?
I think our institutions, civil society institutions working with women in Egypt should approach their counterparts, because in Africa there are so many working on women issues, as you mentioned before, when it comes to the production, the small production, or when it comes to the business women, or when it comes to different fronts.
Or the civil society organizations?
The civil society organizations, they do implement programs set by, like they discuss it with the government and the institutions, and then they go ahead and they function in the rural areas. And they assist the women working in agriculture or working in the production, small production field. So I think we can do a lot, but we have to approach them. We have to let them know we have these things here, because also Africans do not know a lot about the Egyptian women. Like so many, when I met but when I met people for the first time, they knew I'm a female ambassador. Oh, so you have female ambassadors? Yes, we do. And we do from so long ago. I'm not the first, I'm one of the last. So it's like for them, they still get astonished that we have so many women, for example, or diplomats. And then when we show them a bit about Egypt, or we talk about Egypt, it's, oh, so you really have women in different positions. Yes, we do. So they also need to know more about us when it comes to that.
Indeed. Ambassador Namira Negm, Egypt Ambassador to Kigali, always a pleasure to have you with us, and of course it was a great honor for us to have you and to know more about the Egyptian Rwandan relations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We did enjoy very much talking to you, and we got to know more about Rwanda and what can both countries offer to each other. Thank you very much for being with us in the Breakfast Show.
It's my pleasure.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in this special edition of the Breakfast Show. You were in the company of Maysir Rabia and myself, Hala Al-Hamalawi, both signing off for now.